There's a very nice description in 5th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam of Vedic cosmology. Vedic cosmology, chapters 16 through 27, Canto 5. And in that section, it describes Jambudweep. Jambudweep is one of 7 islands in the whole of Bhumandala. Bhumandala is the middle planetary region, as in Bhur-loka, Bhuvar-loka, Swarga-loka, like in Gayatri Mantra, Bhu, Bhuvar, Swar. So Bhu-loka is the middle planetary region in the universe, Vedic cosmology. And Bhumandala has 7 islands, but they're very interestingly shaped. They're ring-shaped, with oceans in between each successive ring. And the middle island is Jambudweep. So there's chapter 19 of Canto 5 is prayers by the residents of Jambudweep. And one of the dweepas one of the 9 divisions of land called Varshas in Jambudweep is Kim Purusha Varsha. That's where Hanuman is. After Ram went to Ayodhya, Hanuman stayed behind for the duration of the universe. And he's staying in Kim Purusha Varsha. Kim Purusha Varsha, I'll show you a map, a drawing of where Kim Purusha Varsha is. But that's where these prayers are being spoken by Hanuman, and he's an authority on Ram. I mean, Valmiki is an authority on Ram, but so is Hanuman. So just some images, a little bit about the life of Hanuman. We know him for many reasons. He's the son of Vayu, and the arrangement for Hanuman becoming the son of Vayu goes back to the Rishi Shringa performing the yagyas so that Dasarath can have sons. And while that yagya is going on, there's an assembly of the demigods in the skies above to receive the offerings from the yagya. And they're discussing with one another. We have a problem that Lord Brahma gave a benediction to Ravana such that we can't do anything to stop him. We can't stop him. We can't destroy him. So Brahma, you got to do something. You made the mess. You got to clean it up. So Brahma then, just at that very moment, Lord Vishnu descended, and Lord Vishnu heard the problem and said, "You all, I will appear soon. There are yagya that's taking place. I will appear as 4 sons of Dasarath. You all please assist me." Very similar to what Krishna said, or what Vishnu said before he appeared as Krishna. So Brahma instructed the demigods to create offspring that could be assisting Ram in his conquering of Ravana. So with that view, Vayu one day saw the wife of Keshari. Her name was Anjana, and Keshari was a powerful Vanara who resided, according to Ramayana, at Mount Sumeru. And so he made himself by mystic power, impregnated without violating Anjana, she became pregnant with a son. And when that son was born, he was named Anjaneya, or arising from Anjana. And this celebrated picture or painting of Anjana when he was, Anjaneya, when he was just a small baby. So here's a photograph of the place where he was born. And his mother, wanting to get some food for her son, placed him to the side while she was gathering some articles from the forest. And he saw in the sky the sun, and he thought it was a big fruit. Being the son of Vayu, he was able to travel, so reaching the sun. And there's different versions, but one nice version is, as he was traveling towards the sun, it was just at the same time where Rahu was to devour the sun or eclipse the sun. And when Rahu saw Hanuman, he told him to get out of the way, and Hanuman knocked him to the side. So Rahu went and complained to Indra. You heard that version? No? What's going on? This is my appointed time to take the sun. And he said, I'll go immediately and see what's happening. When he saw Hanuman zooming towards the sun, he struck him with a thunderbolt, and Hanuman fell. Here's the struck with the thunderbolt weapon of Indra, and Hanuman fell back to earth. And when he fell back to earth, he fell on a side of a mountain, and Vayu became very angry at the demigods, particularly Indra, but all the demigods, and he stopped the flow of air, specifically even prana, life air, within the universe, and people were suffocating. And so they went directly to where Hanuman was, pleaded with Vayu to become peaceful. And Lord Brahma was also there, as you see in the painting on the far right. There's Brahma, next to him is Lord Shiva, Indra's over on the left, the sun god, and so forth and so on. So the Brahma said, this Hanuman, Anjaneya, is going to be one of the great warriors to assist Ram in defeating Ravan. You all wanted this to happen. Lord Vishnu has appeared as Ram, and please give your blessings to this small Vanara. He's going to be a great hero in the battle against Ravan. So there's a conversation. Different demigods offer different benedictions. Here's what the text, one of the versions says. Indra took off his garland and placed it around Hanuman's neck, saying, from this day he shall be invulnerable to my thunderbolt. The sun god said, I shall bestow upon him 100th part of my brilliance. Also, when he begins to study the scriptures, I shall enable him to quickly learn all aspects of knowledge. None shall exceed him in scriptural understandings. And there are different explanations of how it was, but sun god was his guru in Vedic wisdom. Hanuman became very, very skilled in speaking and knowing of the Vedas, and the sun god was his guru. Yamaraj granted him invulnerability to his rod and freedom from ailment. Kuvera also blessed him that he would remain unwearied in battle. Shiva said, he shall be immune to my weapons and from death at my hands. Vishvakarma added, this Varnara shall be invulnerable to all celestial weapons forged by me and he shall be long-lived. I mean, really long-lived, as long as the universe. That's a long time. Finally, Brahma said, this becomes very important, "O wind god, your son shall be invincible in battle. He will prove the terror of his foes and the shelter of his friends. This jewel among monkeys shall be able to change his form at will and go wherever he pleases at any speed he likes. No Brahman's curse will be able to kill him. His movements shall be impeded, and he will become glorious. In war, he will accomplish tremendous feats." So all of that is well and good, except the one that says the Brahmins couldn't curse him, because he's now practically invincible, and he's still a little monkey. So he moved about where the Brahmins were doing their yagyas, and he would do monkey business with the Brahmanas' yagya paraphernalia, and they knew of the benediction given by Brahma. So they did what Brahmins do. They used their intelligence, and they said he was going to forget all about his powers until someone, at some point in future time, reminds him of all of his powers. So he just became a very peaceful little boy, little Vanara. And, the whole lot of time passed. And we find out about his powers, again, when they're at the shore of the ocean. There's Sampati on the left, confirming that Sita is at Lanka. And Lanka is 100 yojanas away. He lost his ability to fly, but he didn't lose his ability to see. And vultures can see a long distance. 100 yojanas is quite a distance. You can see 800 miles. That's pretty good. But he saw Sita's there, so now they have to go verify that Sita's there and reassure her. So they're sitting around, and the whole thing happens where they feel it's not possible to jump all that way. They're being asked, how far can you jump? How far can you jump? No one can do it. But you see the bear seated along with all the monkeys. That's Jambavan. And Jambavan is older. Very, very, very old. And he knew Hanuman's history, so he approached Hanuman and reminded Hanuman we're okay. I'm okay. Are you okay? Okay. He reminded Hanuman of his childhood and his strengths, because by the Brahman's words or utterance, he had forgotten. But then he spoke different things about his childhood, his abilities that traveled to the capture the sun. He reminded him how one time he fought with an elephant, tossed him around like a little toy, and Hanuman starts to remember his power. So just as Jambavan was speaking, you know the story, his body became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And mounting Mount Mahendra, he prepared himself to jump, and he had a little difficulty 3 times getting there. The Mainaka mountain was obstructing his travel. Surasha, she wanted to devour him, and Simhika was capturing his shadow, but Hanuman outsmarted all 3 of them, and everything was nice. So he made it to Lanka. And when he reached Lanka, there was the lady who was guarding Lanka to keep intruders from coming in, Lankini, and Hanuman was polite, but she was very caustic. So she tried to grab him. So he gave her a punch in the jaw, and she fell over. And when she got knocked like that, then she remembered the curse, or the well-known saying there in Lanka, one day Lanka will be destroyed when a monkey comes and destroys the whole of Lanka. So these are just some exhibition of Hanuman's powers. This story you know very well. Twice he was sent to get herbs to cure Rama and Lakshman. The first time is when they were laid low by Indrajit's arrows. And the second time was when the Shakti Shela, or the lance that was made by Mayadanava, given from Mayadanava to Ravana, and Ravana pierced Lakshman's chest, and everyone was in great distress. But Jambavan saved the day. He understood he's still breathing, everything is okay. Get the royal physician. The royal physician had run out of herbs from the first mountain. There goes Hanuman up on the top there to get the next batch of herbs. And a nice painting of the same scene. There's the doctor taking his pulse. There's Hanuman coming with the herbs. There's one of the Vanaras, looks like Sugriva because he's got a crown on, pointing to Hanuman, bringing some more herbs. There's Ravana withdrawing the lance from Lakshman's chest. Another nice painting of the same. Sugriva with the crown on. Ram behind Lakshman and delivering the herbs to cure Lakshman. And Shushena, the royal physician, or physician amongst the Vanaras, knew exactly what to do, and Lakshman became revived. The wound healed, his consciousness was restored. Sushena was very skilled. Of course, there's lots and lots and lots of details. One detail is, here's the name of the mountain, Mount Mahodaya, but according to a book called Nityananda Charitamrita, the hill was the Gandhamanana hill. I got confused. Which hill did he bring? Valmiki Ramayana says from the Gandhamadana hill, that's where Ram was watching as they were building the hill. It's not where the herbs came from. So different versions say different things. I'm just pointing that out. So that's just a little background. Of course, you like Ramayana, so you know all these things. Except the Rahu going after the sun. That's a detail. There's versions of Ramayana. So here's the first of the 8 verses from Canto 5, Chapter 19. Hanuman gets, prime glorification. It's the very first verse of the chapter. So the title of the chapter is Prayers by the Residents of Jambudweep. Srila Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, in Kimpurusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of that land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshmana and dear husband of Sita Devi." Now here's a drawing of Jambudweep. Jambudweep is a circular island with Sumeru in the middle, and there's 9 varshas. I'll do this. There's Kimpurusha Varsha. So right here is Bharat Varsha, and this is salt ocean surrounding. And there's the Himalaya mountain range. On the other side of the Himalaya mountain range is the next Varsha, or tract of land. That's Kimpurusha Varsha, another mountain range. And then there's Harivarsha. Harivarsha is where Prahlad is, worshipping Lord Nrsingadev. Here's where Hanuman is worshipping Lord Ram. Then there's 3 other Varshas on this side, and 3 here. There's Bhadrashrava Varsha, and the very center one is Alavrita Varsha and Ketumala Varsha. Notice here's Gandhamandana mountain range. So there's different mountain ranges, and the mountain ranges separate tracts of land. On the 4 corners of Sumeru, there's 4 very, very, very large mountains that have very, very, very tall trees on top of them. And then there's smaller mountain ranges, 2 on east side, and 2, 2, 2, and 2. That makes 8. Anyway, all of this is described in the 5th canto. This is just a drawing to show you where Kim Purusha Varsha is, where Hanuman is. This area, Bharat Varsha, that's many times they show an earth globe, but it's a tract of land, Bharat Varsha. And the other 8 Varshas, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, 19th chapter, they're heavenly places on earth, or on Bhumandala. Not the earth planet, but on Bhumandala. Other than this one, Bharat Varsha. So this is like a heavenly place where Hanuman is. Just in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. You ever heard of that before? Yes? Yes. No? Sanatana Goswami. He wrote, it's translated and published by the BBT, 3 volumes totaling about that much. They're really thick volumes. And it's a commentary on the Bhagavatam, one way to describe what it is. And in that Brihat Bhagavatamrita, it describes a very nice story where Krishna wanted to curb the pride of Garuda. So Krishna's in Dwarka. He summoned Garuda. He asked Garuda, go to Kim Purusha Varsha and let Hanuman know I'd like to see him. Off he went to inform Hanuman, Krishna would like to see you in Dwarka. And Hanuman said, I'll only go see Ram. So Garuda said, if you don't come, he's asked you to come, I'll take you there. So he tried to pick him up. And Hanuman just swatted him with his tail, and he went flying in the air all the way back to Dwarka. This is written by Sanatana Goswami. It doesn't give the scriptural reference, but this is what's there. So Krishna smiled. He said, go again and tell him that Ramchandra wants to see you. Krishna transformed himself into Lord Ramachandra. Balaram transformed himself into Lakshman, and they sat on a throne. And they needed Sita. So Krishna asked Satyabhama, can you transform yourself into Sita? She couldn't do it. He requested Rukmini. She could do it. She became Sita. It's really far out. I never heard it. I mean, it's right there in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So when Hanuman heard that Ramchandra wants to see him, he didn't need Garuda. He just jumped. And he was in Dwarka, and he was very happy. Fell at Ramchandra's feet. Ramchandra embraced him, said, you love me so much, it's just incredible. You came so quickly. Now that's in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, part 1. And there's another section later where it's it's in the second part, where this is in the commentary. Hanuman has two residences in Kimpurusha and also in Ayodhya Vaikuntha. And that explanation is given by Narada to Gopakumar. Gopakumar is a personality in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It's a long... Narada is explaining to Gopakumar, not only the Lord can expand himself, but for service, he can have us expand ourselves. You see me here and there because they're expansions of me. And he gives other examples in the scriptures where Uddhava is in different places simultaneously. Arjuna is in different places simultaneously. It's an interesting understanding, but there are powers that the Lord invests in them so that they can take part in his pastimes. Anyway, that's Kimpurusha Varsha. Text 2 out of 8. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is always extremely auspicious. Hanuman ji and Arishtasena, the chief personality in Kimpurusha Varsha, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. Now the mantras are prayers. Bhatre Bhagavat Katham Samupa. Now, Hanuman, that's because Ramchandra isn't there. He has requested him to remain behind and spread his glories for as long as the planet exists, as long as the mountains exist and the seas exist, as long as creation exists. Hanuman is there. This shape-changing ability, his first meeting with Lord Ram, he was requested by Sugriva to take the form of a Brahmana. So he did, but as soon as he came to see if they're friend or foe, but as soon as he came before them, he could see they were friend, not only friend, that's his worshipable Lord. He immediately disclosed his identity, and Ram embraced him. Later, Ram shows his trust. There's many things that happened, but this wonderful event of Ram trusting that Hanuman will find Sita, so he gives him his personal ring to show to Sita, so that when she sees the ring, she'll know you're my representative. There's Jambavan on the right side, Sugriva with the crown on the left side, and Lakshman and Ram with beards. And there's Hanuman getting Ram's ring. Okay, here's the first prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya Namo Arya Lakshana Shila Vritaya. Let me please your Lordship by chanting the Bija Mantra Omkar. I wish to offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, who is the best among the most highly elevated personalities. Your Lordship is the reservoir of all good qualities of Aryans, people who are advanced. Your character and behavior are always consistent, and you always control your senses and mind, acting just like an ordinary human being. You exhibit exemplary character to teach others how to behave. There is a touchstone that can be used to examine the quality of gold, but you are like a touchstone that can verify all good qualities. You are worshipped by Brahmanas, who are the foremost of all devotees. You, the Supreme Person, are the King of Kings, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Now there's a lot in there, and there isn't time to go through all what's there. In the commentaries by our acharyas, they speak of 3 specific qualifications. Sometime while in Maryland, we visited a home. They're also everybody there. They're learning Sanskrit from a Sanskrit teacher who was the host, and they can speak Sanskrit, conversational Sanskrit. So they wanted to hear Ramayana, and I was asking them. There were some suggestions of topics. So one of them was what's the ideal character of Ram such that people wanted to serve him? So I said, we're going to speak on another topic. Why don't you say something? And they didn't say anything. But this one, he gives 3. He is faithful to the Brahmanas. He always abides by truth, and he sets ideal conduct standards, thus worshipable by everyone. Whenever I see, there's murals or different depictions of the Das avatars, the Leela avatar forms. It's real easy to pick out Ram. He's got the bow. That's his characteristic paraphernalia. And not only his own bow, but, the breaking the bow of Lord Shiva is another very celebrated event. I like this painting. It shows the cracking sound was so intense that the sound knocked people over. Very intense. Now here's a very old painting. It's kind of a skinny bow, not the same. It doesn't take 300 men to bring it out on with wheels on a chariot to convey it. But there's Janaka and his 2 daughters by his side, and his queen. And Vishwamitra is observing Ram not only stringing the bow, but breaking the bow. That's a nice photograph of the kingdom of King Janak. And there's another. This is out of place. I'll skip by this one. Yeah. Here's a place where Ram with his bow is again activated. Now, again, there's different versions of Ramayana, but when the ocean personified, or Samudra, didn't come forward, Ram became very angry. So with his glance, some say, or with his bow, some say, he caused the ocean to boil. And Samudra came to his senses and came forward. So after he returned, I got these in wrong order. I'm going to get them in right order. The place, have you been to this place? We took a group of devotees to South India on the tour that Lord Chaitanya followed, place by place by place. We visited all the places, and this is one of the places. It's right along that, just before that really, really long peninsula. Anyway, this is where Ram challenged the sun, which is the ocean personified, Samudra. And it's also when he returned back from Ayodhya, at least one version of Ramayana says, he was concerned about having killed a Brahmana, because Ravana was born in a Brahmana family, or of a Brahmana father at least. And so he wanted to cleanse himself from that, having killed the Brahmana. So he decided he wanted to worship Lord Shiva. And it's the same location where he left as where he came back. Southern tip of India. And when it was it was the brahmanas that were giving him advice said, Agastya came and started making arrangements for this worship of Lord Shiva. But the auspicious time was passing. They had sent Hanuman to go get some Shivalingas, but he was late. And the auspicious time was passing. And so Sita, with her own hand, made a Shivalinga, which was the Shivalinga that was worshipped. And then after that, Hanuman showed up. To honor the effort that Hanuman made, there were two lingas where Rameshwara, there's two lingas in that temple. One is where Sita made the linga, and the other is where Hanuman brought his. And they worshipped Lord Shiva, for at least one version of Ramayana speaks like this, to cleanse himself from the effect of killing one who was born of a Brahmana. And of course, this worship by Lord Ram of Lord Shiva, some people say, see, Shiva is supreme and Ram is worshipping Lord Shiva. And there's a Vaishnava explanation. And in fact, the Rameshwara can be translated one way, but a Vaishnava way is that Lord Shiva is a great personality whose worshipable deity is Lord Ram. Okay, now we're going on to the next prayer. The Lord, whose pure form, Satchitananda Vigraha, is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature, can be perceived by pure consciousness. In the Vedanta, he is described as being one without a second, because of his spiritual potency, he is untouched by the contamination of material nature. And because he is not subjected to material vision, he is known as transcendental. He has no material activities, nor has he a material form or name. Only in pure consciousness, Krishna consciousness, that's Prabhupada, can one perceive the transcendental form of the Lord. Let us be firmly fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra, and let us offer our respectful obeisances unto those transcendental lotus feet. Now, the way the painting is drawn looks quite similar to Lord Vishnu being worshipped by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and Anantashesh lying on the bed of Anantashesh. Now, the scene is different because it's Lord Ramachandra, and it's Sita instead of goddess Lakshmi by name. And there's Lakshman over there standing watch instead of being Anantashesh holding him up. But it's the same personalities in the Leela aspect. Now, Hanuman is honoring specifically in this verse the lotus feet, so he spent some time wanting to show how others honored the lotus feet of Lord Ramchandra. Of course, celebrated as Guha's washing Lord Ramachandra's feet because he was his devotee, and Ramchandra permitted. At this particular place in Shringavarapur, that's where Hanuman, where Ram departed from Guha to cross the Ganges, and he was assisted. There's a very nice description in one of the versions of Ramayana where the boatman, who in the painting it shows Guha in the background, his soldiers over to his right or our left, and there's the Ganges in the foreground. So Sita was to get in first, Lakshman was to assist. Lakshman got in, and then as Ram was getting in, the boatman told him to stop. Stop, you can't get in the boat. And Sita was very disturbed. Why, he can't get in the boat. We have to go across the river. And he said, I heard that you put your foot on a rock, and the rock turned into a woman. And I'm already married, and I can't maintain more than one wife, so I can't have you get in the boat. So Ram said, I have to get across the river. What to do? He said, I'll wash your feet. So he made a big to-do and washed Ram's feet, and then smiled and sprinkled the water from his feet on his family and drank the water. And Sita is really in anxiety. What's this man doing? And they crossed the boat, crossed the river. When they got on the other side, Ram said that normally when a king receives some service from somebody, they want to reward them, but I have nothing. And he said, you've already rewarded me plenty, so I'm fully satisfied. Ram's feet. That's the second of the 6 verses, 6 prayers. Here's the next one. It was ordained that Ravana, chief of the Rakshasas, could not be killed by anyone but a man. And for this reason, Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared in the form of a human being. Lord Ramachandra's mission, however, was not only to kill Ravana, but also to teach mortal beings that material happiness centered around sex life or centered around one's wife is the cause of many miseries. He is the self-sufficient Supreme Personality of Godhead, and nothing is lamentable for him. Therefore, why else could he be subjected to tribulations by the kidnapping of Mother Sita? Question mark. I tell a little Prabhupada story. Do we have time? Yeah. Somebody in Hyderabad, there wasn't, at some point in time, during Prabhupada's time, there was no ISKCON temple in Hyderabad. So there was a man, Mr. Reddy, because there are so many Reddys in Andhra, donated some land. And I found out later why he donated the land. The reason he donated the land was it was adjacent to his graveyard, and no one wanted to purchase the land because there was a graveyard. They said it was spooked and stuff like that. So he just gave it to ISKCON. So we were in Mayapur for the second of these annual Mayapur Vrindavan festivals, Prabhupada called it. And he requested 100 devotees to come from Mayapur by train to Hyderabad to have a week-long festival, to spread the word that ISKCON is opening a temple in Hyderabad. So we got on a train and went to Hyderabad. I was one of the devotees that got to go. And it was an interesting experience. We were in the middle of a city, and there was nothing. So we just camped out like Boy Scouts. And there was no toilets, so we had latrines. Like a little a thatched wall and a pit. That was our toilet. And there was no running water, so it was bucket showers. And by the end of the week, the whole place was mud. But that was what we did. It was very austere. 100 of us, men and ladies. And then, we had a little Mangal Arti and chanted our japa and had a morning class. And after breakfast, we went out and did Harinam, passing out flyers to inform people about the pandal. That was in the evening. And then each day in the afternoon, one of the local life members, invited us to come to their place, the 100 devotees, to have lunch. So one day we went to the home of Mr. Reddy. And it was a big place, landscaping, kind of a palatial house. And we were all seated around the outside of the house. And I put 2 and 2 together and said, I'm going to have lunch quickly and go inside, because Prabhupada was inside. So I went inside, and they had a big parlor, like a sitting room. And over on this side was Mrs. Reddy and her friends. And over on this side was Prabhupada and the sannyasi seated at his feet. And the lady, Mrs. Reddy, was asking Prabhupada like 6 times, why did Ram make a mistake? You know, he's omniscient. So didn't he know that this golden deer was not a golden deer? And why did he make it? Because it was very costly. And Prabhupada explained this way and explained that way. And she said, yeah, but Sita had so much suffering, and he underwent so much hardship. Like this statement here. There's nothing lamentable for him. He's the self-sufficient Supreme Personality of Godhead, and nothing is lamentable for him. Therefore, why else could he be subjected to tribulation? So finally Prabhupada said, he wanted to show, and I didn't know this verse from the Bhagavatam, but he was just saying what this verse says. He wanted to show that too much association with a woman, you can have difficulty. And the lady went on harassing him. Prabhupada smiled. The sannyasis laughed, and the ladies didn't get it. But all the men in the room got it. She kept harassing him and kept harassing him, and he smiled. So Ram wanted to show that. Now, he could have done it in different ways. The Acharyas explained an additional reason was, for those who are civilized, they either follow Varnashram Dharma or they're Vaishnavas. And for both groups, Ram wanted to show, if your wife is in difficulty, you take every measure to relieve her of difficulty, to protect her at all cost. And he wanted to show that also. So here's the killing of Ravana, some different paintings, the 10-headed Ravana being slain. There's so many nice things about the pastime. There he is. And Vibhishan, even, seeing Ravan in this condition, he felt very sorry. Okay, next. Since Lord Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, he is not attached to anything in the material world. He is the most beloved supersoul of all self-realized souls, and he is their very intimate friend. He is full of all opulences, therefore he could not possibly have suffered because of separation from his wife, nor could he have given up his wife and Lakshmana, his younger brother. To give up either would have been absolutely impossible. Now, that's authoritative. But he did those things. So how do we understand those things if he couldn't possibly do those things? And the answer is it's pastime. He was doing many things through his pastimes, but showing what was said in the previous verse. Now, the whole intrigue, we've already been going for an hour, and I haven't finished the prayers, so I'm not sure what to do. I'm going really quickly, and it's kind of not doing justice to anything, but there's nice pictures. The intrigue of Kaikeyi being tricked by Manthara into asking, persuaded, and whatever, that Dasrath had ill intention for Bharat, so asked for these 2 boons. And when Dasrath came and saw her in this wretched condition, he was unable to bear her situation. She did all of... Look in the corner back there. There's Mantra watching. and Kaikeyi is doing everything. She's a good actress. And here's a nice painting where Dasarath is unable to say to Ram that you're banished. So Kaikeyi says it for him. Here's Ram departing. Sumantra at the chariot. Anyway, it's a beautiful painting. Very beautiful painting. The persons of Ayodhya unable to bear Ram's separation, but he very willingly took that situation to uphold the word of his father. This is part of his glory. And then Sita saying she really enjoyed being in the forest. She had just a natural ability to appreciate the beautiful scene, the flowers, and the fauna, and the animals. She was very, very happy, enjoying being with Ram, undisturbed by worldly things, Lakshman guarding all the while, until this fateful event. Over on the left side, the golden deer in Maricha as the golden deer, and persuading Ram to go get the deer. Ravana taking the opportunity to do his tricky business, and Sita being the gracious daughter of King Janak, knew how to receive a Brahmana, but when he started speaking in a different way, it was a little surprising to her, and she didn't yield, and so he kidnapped her. Big fight with Jatayu. Look how big Jatayu is, grabbing one of the mules with his claws, and Ravana fighting off Jatayu and finally chopping his wings. In the painting, B.G. Sharma painting, Sita tossing, of course it happened much later, but tossing her ornaments while flying over Rishimukh mountain, etc., etc. Ram finding Jatayu, performing the funeral rites for Jatayu, and back in Lanka, Ravana tormenting Sita in so many ways. It's such a obviously Ramayana is so much more elaborate than just showing pictures, but the pictures tell the synopsis of the story. And when he came demanding so many, every day, it's described, every day he would come to torment her and insist that she submit to him. And when Sita spoke back in such a strong way, he was ready to kill her. And here's Mandodari stopping him. That's not going to serve his purpose. Don't slay her. So you see in the tree there's Hanuman. And so he leaves. And after he leaves, he instructs the Rakshasis to do anything, everything, break her will. She should submit to him. And they do their business. Sita is tormented. Then Trijata wakes up and tells everybody of a dream. She has this kind of mystical soothsaying capacity. Everybody knew her as having that capacity. And she described a dream she just had, where Ram came to rescue Sita. He was mounted upon a celestial chariot drawn by 1,000 horses and coursing through the air. And she also saw Ravana. The couple wore white robes and white garlands and were ablaze with splendor, but Ravana was robed in black with a red garland and sitting on a chariot drawn by asses. So somehow these Rakshasis had the ability to understand, to read dreams and understand the meaning, and so they left Sita alone. Much later, another very nice scene where she gets some comfort is the wife of Vibhishan comes after the Ram lands in Lanka, and Ravana arranges for the magician Vidyujava to create a head that looked like Ram and a bow that looked like Ram's. He took the bow, Ravan, and the magician took the head, placed it before Sita, and made up a whole story that Ram has been killed. Here's his head. She's smashed. And just as all of this is going on, Ravan has to leave suddenly because there's an attack. And Sarama, the wife of Vibhishan, comes and explains this was just a trick, the magician's trick. And she says, I have mystic powers. I can take you to where Ram is, and you can see him. Everything is fine. And Sita says, before doing that, go and find out what Ravana's next plan is. Then I'll decide what else can happen. This is, of course, after Ram arrives. So now we're back with, there's Hanuman, seeing the whole situation with the Rakshasis surrounding Sita, and in a very delicate way, you know the way, he just sings the story of Ram. It's a very, very beautiful section. It says the description of Ram's form, description of his qualities, description of his activities, and Sita is so pleased hearing, but when she sees up in the tree who is coming from, it's a monkey, she gets scared. Maybe it's a trick. Hanuman jumps down, shows her the ring. Everything is now, Sita's trust is restored, and Hanuman is now ready to go back and tell Ram Sita is safe. There is Hanuman at the feet of Ram. They're in Ayodhya. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, he showed this form of six-armed form, two arms being Ram, bow and arrow, and two arms being Krishna with flute, and two arms being Lord Chaitanya with danda and kamandalu. I'm going really fast. Sorry. Time. But maybe you want to read the prayers later. Next to the last, one cannot establish a friendship with the Supreme Lord Ramachandra on the basis of material qualities, such as one's birth in an aristocratic family, one's personal beauty, one's eloquence, one's sharp intelligence, or one's superior race or nation. None of these qualifications is actually a prerequisite for friendship with Lord Ramachandra. Otherwise, how is it possible that although we civilized inhabitants of the forest have not taken noble births, we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends? So this is an important teaching connected with Ramachandra's pastimes and Krishna's also. One's birth is not the issue. One's material qualification of any kind is not the issue. The affection for the Supreme Lord is the issue. A small point in the commentary is Hanuman's relationship with Ram is dasya. And here is speaking of friendship. So one commentator says that he is speaking on behalf of Sugriva, because Sugriva has that relationship of friendship, although it's in his prayers. How is it possible that although we uncivilized inhabitants of the forest have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends? Here's Ram accepting friendship with Sugriva. There's also showing Ram the ornaments of Sita. Sugriva's the monkey with the crown on. And Ramchandra is holding his heart, seeing these ornaments of Sita, but then taking their vow in the sacred fire, etc. And the prophecy of and the benedictions of the demigods proved to be true. The valorous acts of Hanuman after he rescued Sita, or informed Sita Ram will soon come. He burned the whole city of Lanka. Here he is looking at the devastation of Lanka while he's cooling his tail off in the ocean. A very nice exhibition of his wisdom came when Vibhishan wanted to surrender, and there was a big scene. Ram consulted his ministers, and everybody except Hanuman had their profound suspicion about Vibhishan and his intention and what he was going to do. That's a nice, very nice section. Here's another painting. Over in the left side, that's Vibhishan and his four ministers. There's, of course, Jambavan in the foreground, Ram and Lakshman, and the Vanaras have their clubs raised, ready to let him have it, because they don't trust him, but Ram accepts him in his service. Crossing the ocean by building a bridge, writing the names of Ram on the stones so the stones would float. The celebrated pastime of Ram's accepting the service of the squirrel. This is the evidence. This is examples of Ram's being very kind to everyone. His accepting the service of Guha. His accepting the service of Shabari, an ascetic woman. She's a great personality. One of the favorites, my favorites, in the whole of Ramayana. So, but very happy to accept her service. She went under the order of sage Matanga, gathering fruits, keeping the place clean, waiting for that day when Ram would come. And when Ram came, although it was very simple fare, he was very happy to accept what she had gathered. He was very, very satisfied. And afterwards, Shabari left to go to the spiritual world. In this painting, it shows the friendship of Sugriva, up in the upper right. Ram accepting the warm embrace of Hanuman. And Ram accepting the simple service of Shabari. Here's the last prayer. Therefore, whether one is a demigod or a demon, a man or a creature other than man, such as a beast or bird, everyone should worship Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears on this earth just like a human being. There is no need of great austerities or penances to worship the Lord, for he accepts even a small service offered by his devotee. Thus he is satisfied, and as soon as he is satisfied, the devotee is successful. Indeed, Lord Ramachandra brought all the devotees of Ayodhya back home, back to Godhead or Vaikuntha. And I think next time I present these prayers, I'm going to make it into 2 classes, because going fast like this isn't nice. I'm not feeling good about it. Okay, so they're in Ayodhya. There's returning in the Pushpaka Vimana. Here, of course, it's supposed to be at dark, but here he comes during his full bright light, descending, coming before the queens, and being received by the citizens of Ayodhya very happily. There's a painting with Hanuman in giant form, entering Ayodhya. And there they are seated on the throne, Hanuman at his feet, and the three brothers by his side. Nice painting. Here's a photograph of Ayodhya. And the last slide is an explanation of what sometimes is a contradiction or seen as a contradiction. In the Vishnu Damotara, it describes that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers are incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, respectively. And there's a different reference, Padma Purana, that says Lord Ramachandra is an incarnation of Narayana, and that the other three brothers are incarnations of Shesha, Chakra, and Shanka. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur provides an elegant solution. It's different cycles of the four yugas, or Kalpa Beta, not just cycles of the four yugas, but different days of Brahma, Kalpa Beta. Doesn't hurt. She's pulling your... She doesn't pull too hard. It's just playing. Okay. And that's it. Prayers to Lord Ram at 80 miles an hour. Fast speed. But it had nice paintings, and to describe these details slowly and with much more involvement is a nice way to go. So because it's late, let's see if there's some discussion. You're lovers of Ramayana, there may be something you want to add or appreciate or something. What part of India are you from?
This is Vittal.
Yeah. Somebody sent me the Vittal and this recent Ekadasi.
Yeah.
Nice outfit. Did you receive that also?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You saw the photo of the deity on Ekadasi?
Yeah.
You get someone sent those to you, huh? Okay. Someone sent one to me. I circulated it around. The temple is a very nice temple, and the pujaris are very merciful. We brought a lot of devotees from all over the world, including China, and the pujaris had them place their head at the deity's feet and everything. Really, really amazing. I mean, we're used to, I'm used to, you can't even come in the temple. Jagannath Puri and some other places. Shakshi Gopal, you can't enter the temple. What to speak of put your head at the feet of the deity. Very merciful deity. Did you grow up near Pandharpur?
Yeah, my parents are devotees of Vittal. So
Did you?
I did not grow up in Pandharpur, but I have visited Pandharpur.
Okay. Okay. We visited there in connection with Aranya Kanda and Kishkinda Kanda. It was like in between. So we went, visited. Nice. Does Any discussion?
I have one question. Now.
Yeah.
So we've already heard Lord Shiva keeps chanting Lord Ram's name all the time, and then in this prayers we saw that Lord Ram is praying to Lord Shiva. So what is this relationship?
Oh. He was two things. He likes honoring his devotees. The personality of Godhead likes to honor his devotees. So it was honoring Lord Shiva. He slayed Ravan because he was such a demon. He doesn't need to atone. But so this is the second part. In the gesture, or setting the example of one who has done something that may be criticized or misunderstood as faulty or something, he was atoning. And the method of atoning, if he's the personality of Godhead, who is he going to worship for atonement? So that's a standard for dharmic followers. So he set an example for dharmic followers. But the greater reason is he likes to honor his own devotees. There's many examples of that. Krishna likes to do that. Ram likes to do that. They honor their devotees. We're just otherwise in evening sessions reading the story of Dhenukasura. So when Krishna turned 6, they graduated from taking care of calves to taking care of cows. And the first demon that was encountered, he wanted Balaram to take care of the demon, to honor his brother. I mean, it didn't say it like that, but that's part of the explanation of why he did like that. So Ram wants to honor his devotee. It doesn't reduce his divinity, it's just his honoring his devotee. When Lord Chaitanya traveled in South India, there are many, 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 many temples of Lord Shiva, and he visited those temples of Lord Shiva. And when he visited those temples of Lord Shiva, he would dance in ecstasy, understanding that he's visiting one of the greatest devotees of the Lord. For that reason. And so the third reason, worldly people can have their, be satisfied with their idea that just see, Ram is worshipping Shiva, therefore Shiva is the greatest. It's something like Krishna leaving behind a physical body to give the materialists, confirmed. He's one of us. A mortal being. You have something? Comment?
As appreciating the one of the prayer, all the prayers are very wonderful, but how Hanuman was saying, though I'm a monkey and doesn't have any beauty, but can't speak properly, nicely, but still how Lord Ramachandra just accepts me. I was just relating it to the Lord Chaitanya's prayers, the Shikshastaka verses, that how he says...
Is the microphone on? Tap it on the top. Okay, I can't hear you so well. So you're just appreciating his expressions of humility. It comes up in Brihat Bhagavatamrita also, where in part 1, where Narada is encouraged to go see Hanuman as being the greatest devotee, and Hanuman says, no, 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 you don't understand. Ram took all of the residents of Ayodhya with him back to the spiritual world and left me here. And, I do so many foolish things. I'm just a monkey. And I'm in separation. If you want to see the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy, you should go find the Pandavas. The Lord is always with them. So Narada says, yes, I'm going. Come with me. He said, no, I'll just make some monkey foolish thing, and better I stay here and chant and glorify Ram this way. So it's the nature of an elevated person that they speak of themselves in humble manner. They not just speak, they feel themselves that way. So Hanuman has that qualification naturally. It's one of the traits of Hanuman. Whenever there was some discussion about something, he would not be outspoken. He would wait till he was called upon, and then he would express something. And when he expressed something, everyone would go, wow. It's part of his character. He wasn't, overly talkative and overly boastful. Very humble and very powerful. Anything else? Yeah?
So is there any significance of Vibhishan flying in the air where...
Yes, there is. He was waiting to find out whether he would be accepted or not. So he had the capacity to come in for a landing or to stay in the air, but it was a gesture showing, I'm waiting for Ram's word to accept me before I descend.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So today we discussed that there are multiple versions of Ramayana.
There are many different versions of Ramayana. Too many.
Yeah, there are too many versions. So would like to know more about it. Like, is it because in every cycle of Yuga there is a different story of Ramayana?
Is it because of what reason?
So in every cycle of Yuga...
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. It's a day of Brahma, not a cycle of 4 yugas. Let me, this is a detail. It's not what you're answering your question, but it's something else. According to Rupa Goswami, you know who is Rupa Goswami, right? So he wrote a book that's also that thick called Laghu Bhagavatamrita, and it has one topic: avatars of Lord Vishnu. So when he describes Lord Ramachandra, he's very specific with scriptural authority. He appears in the 24th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu. So it's every day of Brahma. I've always been under the impression that he appears in the same Yuga cycle as Krishna. But Krishna appears in the 27th Yuga cycle, and Ramchandra appears in the 24th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu. So it's Kalpa Beda, a day of Brahma. So that's one explanation, different days of Brahma. That's one explanation. That's the explanation that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives about who are these 4. Padma Purana says this, Vishnu Damottara says that. Different days of Brahma. So that's one explanation. Another is pastimes become revealed to devotees according to their realization, their trance of realization, their samadhi. There's a nice verse in Brahma Samhita, text 61. Brahma Samhita, are you familiar with that? Yeah. Yadrashi yadrashi shraddha siddhi bhavati tadrashi, which Bhaktisiddhanta's translation is, there the siddhi bhavati, one gets realization according to shraddha. Yadrashi shraddha siddhi bhavati, realization. That's Bhaktisiddhanta's translation. Tadrashi. So different personalities who are profoundly absorbed, not just armchair people or scholarly people, but profoundly absorbed in Ram's Leela, they have different realizations. Something is revealed to them a little different than another, than another, than another. So for little people like us, that's confusing. Is it this or is it that? How can it be this and that? It's just their realization. And it's a very simple example of that is the verse in the Bhagavatam where Krishna enters the wrestling arena of Kamsa. And he's got a elephant tusk over his shoulder, and Balaram's got one over his shoulder, and they see the two boys entering the wrestling arena, and there's 11 different people that see them, and each of them see them differently. It's the same Krishna and Balaram, but their realization of Krishna and Balaram is according to their relation, their position. The wrestlers see him as a lightning bolt. Kamsa sees him as death personified. The young girls see him as the darling Cupid. The elders see him as this little delicate boy. And so on. The yogis see him as Paramatma. Paramatma walking across the wrestling arena. So, which one's right? If it's this, how can it be that? Or if it's that, how can it be this? So this is that kind of thing, according to their consciousness and their relationship with Krishna, different persons get realizations about Ramchandra's pastimes. It's revealed to them differently, and so they have to write according to what's revealed to them. Now it's in a standard way accept Valmiki Ramayana. That's the gold standard for various reasons. But it doesn't discount others that have other realizations than his. Ramchandra can reveal that which happened long, long ago in a different way to different people. And they write according to their realization. It's not creative writing. It's different. Creative writing we're not interested in. There are people that do that. They embellish and just make up stuff. I heard one of those and I had to get a little, strong about. Don't repeat those stories that storytellers tell, the professional reciters tell, about how the sun god instructed Hanuman in the Vedas. It's a popular storyteller, but there has no foundation. So don't I had to say don't retell those things. Okay.
Actually, I also have one more question.
Go ahead. Speak a little louder, though.
Yeah, sure. I was just wondering, there are some people, like in India, there are some people who have mystic powers.
Yes.
So I was wondering, they also must have got these powers from God or Krishna.
Well, everything comes. The microphone comes from God. The camera comes from God.
So why Krishna don't give them?
Her daughter's ability to pull her mother's earrings comes from God.
My question is why, Krishna don't give them power to think or pray to him. They don't have that.
He's reciprocating. It's his nature. Yayatamam prapadyante. Prapadyantes, as they surrender unto me, tang sadaiva bhajamyaham. I reciprocate. So some people don't want to surrender to Krishna, they want mystic powers. Some people want to be gangsters. Some people want to be Olympic athletes. So Krishna gives ability. He doesn't force. There's the lesson is there isn't really ultimate satisfaction in any of those things. That's the lesson. But it takes exhausting the desire that doesn't bring satisfaction to the point where I need another option on this menu. And then, association of devotees. So this association of devotees will be sent to the person who want to hear. We're discussing that in the morning. In the Uddhava, Krishna's talks with Uddhava. It's really interesting. But he doesn't interfere. Okay, you want mystic powers? Here's a path. You can do lots of austerities and this and that and the other thing. But mystic, according to really simple language, all mystic power is doing is manipulating laws of nature that are subtle. That's all. There's gross and there's subtle. It's just manipulation of laws. That's all. So most people can't manipulate laws of nature, subtle ones. They can send rockets to space, and they can do other kinds of, manipulating laws of nature. And some can do the subtler ones. But it's never satisfying. But he doesn't interfere. He allows them to, run their, just like a child. Pull your mother's earring. Go ahead. And then later she's something else and something else. And so mothers are very tolerant and Krishna is very tolerant. Okay. But he's not going to be satisfying. So, then when somebody's ready to hear something, representatives of Krishna come, his devotees, to give Krishna's message. We read it just this morning. Yadrich Chaya. Yadrich Chaya means inexplicable mercy. There's no cause for that effect. Here comes a devotee into somebody's life. Why? Causeless. No material pre-qualification, prerequisite. And then, that the mystic yogi can say yes or no. Here's a little story. This is short. At our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, it's not far from the Himalayas. So when it's really, really cold in the Himalayas, sometimes the yogis come down from the Himalayas into Vrindavan. They like Vrindavan. It's a holy place. So one day, One day, one yogi came with long matted locks, dragging on the ground behind him, and followed by a group of his followers. And they went in to see the deities in the temple. And the yogi stopped with his long and said one of his followers, get Bhagavad Gita from their book table in Hindi. And so they got it. And they went inside to darshan. The deities came back. The man came back the next day, speaking in Hindi, to the girl at the table, saying, I've been teaching Bhagavad Gita my whole life and I've never understood it like this. It's so clear. Let me see your other books. So, some yogis that they don't want to hear, and that this yogi wanted to hear. So the opportunity is made available for those who want. By the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru. By the mercy of Guru, one gets Krishna. And some persons that don't want to, he doesn't interfere. There's consequences, minimally, that they're not satisfied. Because things that are limited and temporary are never satisfying, whatever it is. Okay, anything online?
We have 3 questions.
3.
First one is from Sanchari. She says, in terms of demigod worship, in most of the Lord's pastimes, especially in those of Lord Ram's, there's a beautiful reciprocal relationship seen between Lord Ram and Lord Shiva. Even though this respect is given to Lord Shiva and the various other demigods within the ISKCON culture, there is also a revulsion in some devotees' responses to those honoring these personalities through worship or celebrating festivals dedicated to them. Devotees don't worship demigods. Those that do are lesser spiritualists, or they don't.
Those that do what?
Those that do are lesser spiritualists, or they don't.
Lesser spiritualists? Okay.
Or
it's Avidi Purvakam in Krishna's language. They're doing it without proper understanding. Avidi.
or they don't understand our scripture.
Yeah.
May you please comment on this duality in our
It's not a
practice?
duality. While we don't worship demigod, we don't disrespect them. And we honor persons that are worshiping demigods, but we also understand that it's without proper knowledge. We don't disrespect the demigod, we don't disrespect the worshippers. But it's without proper knowledge. It's not a duality. Do you get the duality in there? I don't get it. They're following the Vedas, and so they're to be appreciated. They're civilized. They're elevating their consciousness by submission to Vedic principle, and that's good. And they haven't yet either had association with devotees that make clear the position of Lord Vishnu in relation to the demigods, and the worship of Lord Vishnu in comparison to the worship of the demigods. Or they read it, but they could just choose to ignore it. But they're following followers. Followers are those who properly follow codes of scripture, not even just the Vedas. Those who properly follow codes of scripture. That's good. No. If there's somebody that's disrespecting those individuals, then they need a little course correction, because you shouldn't disrespect.
Next question is, how do we understand the pride of Garuda?
Oh, it's just a pastime. He is an unalloyed devotee.
Question is from Amara Mataji. If I understood from the third slide correctly, Lord Ram was showing from his own example that attachment to women is not good. I am not understanding...
Undue attachment. Undue attachment. Okay.
I am not understanding how he displayed that kind of attachment. Rather, the decisions that
The answer was, he's omniscient. And, Lakshman was fervently giving him wise advice, and he was ignoring it because his wife wanted the deer. It was a pastime, but, that's how he displayed it. Intelligence is overruled by a nagging wife. No, sometimes that happens. Kashyapa did that with Diti. But, the consequence wasn't good. Next. That's it? Okay. Okay, we're done. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Good.